to life.
Can you still pace the field? Yep. Love it. Get a good deep breath. Get ready to roll here. Only about one thing tonight, getting the W's, so gotta be around the end to do that. Get ready to roll tonight, boys. Go have some fun. Don't get me any more fired up than I already am. All the way to the checker. You're fine. Nobody's got to run. Checker time, baby! Really proud of you, man. Drove your butt off tonight. We had the best car here, bud. Yeah, boys. Way to rebound. Great job. Great job, bud. Really good job. Appreciate you hanging in there with us all weekend. What a weekend. Good job. Thank you.
And welcome back to Racing in the Draft. My name is Mark. Thanks for joining me on this Saturday night for week 3 of the regular season of Cup racing or NASCAR season racing. And we head to Texas for Circuits of the Americas, I don't know, COTA, as it's better known as. We're not just turning left, we're turning right and left this week. And you don't just have to mash the gas. In fact, it's probably advised that you don't do that at this track. It's going to be a lot of finesse, a lot of new things. We've got higher horsepower. We've got warm weather. We've got softer tires. We've got all sorts of things. So this is not going to be the typical COTA that we've seen in previous years. Even though the layout will be the same as last year, I'm expecting potentially some differences. So we'll get into that and break it down. But before we do, let's go back to Atlanta and take a look at Tyler Reddick, winner again, 2 in a row, starting from the pole on a drafting track and wins both of them. Well, he didn't start from the pole. No. But either way, had the pole, won again at Atlanta, 2 in a row. I mean, without a front right fender for the most part. I guess it either helped or didn't matter, even though you think these crews and everything back at the shop literally spend hours and days and weeks massaging every inch of their machines so that way they are perfectly aerodynamic for these big races. And literally Tyler Reddick's like, just rip that off. I'll go win the race anyways. Absolutely insane. Did not see that coming. Definitely did not have Tyler Reddick in very many of my lineups, but he won. So good for him. I definitely did not have that called. But yeah, 23-11. Who would have thought? Let's sue NASCAR. Let's beat NASCAR in court, and let's go win the first 2 points-paying races of the year. Okay. Either way, let's look at the optimal lineups from Atlanta. We had Chase Briscoe. So everything else kind of fell like I thought it was going to, except for the Tyler Reddick call. That one kind of bit me a little bit. I still ended up making a little bit of money, just not as big as I would have liked. But either way, anytime that you can make a little bit of money or at least break even in NASCAR DFS, it's kind of a win. But so, it's not a full-on start from the back. I did call that we might see 1 or 2 guys that start, in and around the top 10. I just did not think the pole sitter would actually get into the optimal, and he did, because he led 53 of 271 laps. So good for Tyler Reddick. Chase Briscoe had the most points at 83, starting 34th and finishing 2nd. SVG. This is not a road course, and SVG still made the optimal. In fact, he got a top 10. He finished 6th in the race. I mean, it is a little bit of a crapshoot when we go to these tracks, but SVG, will he back it up with another optimal lineup this week? I guess we'll have to wait and see. Tyler Reddick's 2 for 2. Maybe Shane can get 2 for 2 also. I wonder if Tyler Reddick can get 3 for 3. But Ross Chastain starting 21st, Ryan Preece starting 26th, Carson Hocevar starting 15th. Other drivers that did not make the optimal, but still had really good points day. Denny Hamlin, Ryan Blaney, both starting in the 20s. Bubba Wallace starting 9th. Daniel Suarez starting 12th. Daniel always runs Atlanta really, really well. Ended up with the top 5 finish. AJ, with probably, I mean, how many fast laps did he have? 9? Yeah, 9 fast laps, which, I mean, Ryan Preece had 10, so I think that may have been the max. Zane Smith starting in 6th. Christopher Bell. Zane Smith's off to a great start this year also. Christopher Bell and Alex Bowman rounding out the top 14 and Draftkings points. All right, so that's your optimal lineup. The optimal lineup challenge for this year after 2 races, as we know, Tyler Reddick leads the way with 2. Kind of funny how that happens. All right, but we are going road course racing in the great state of Texas, where last year's winner, Christopher Bell, beat the field and beat everyone else, including SVG. It was one of the road courses that SVG did not win last year. He's had a little bit of a struggle with COTA so far in his NASCAR starts. It's been his track that seems to be the one that troubles him the most. Will that continue? Maybe, maybe not. He did win today in the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series. It used to be Xfinity. It used to be Busch Grand National or the Grand National division. But either way, this road course, they have shortened it. It is 2.3 miles. It's the same layout that they had last year, but not the same as the previous 2 years. That would include the long course, which, if you see in gray, is over there. But we're racing 95 laps. Dominator points, we don't have a whole lot of those this week. They will matter, but not matter as much because you only have 95 laps. At Daytona, we had 200. And because it got kind of spread out with fast laps, it really didn't matter. But 66.5, 23.75 coming from lap sled, and 66, oops, that's not the total Dominator points. What is that? Yeah, it's 66.5 for fast laps, 23.75 for lap sled would give us a total of 80 or 90.25 actually for full Dominator points. Sorry about the math calculation. I just didn't put the addition in there. Either way, other tracks that we can compare to, Circuits of the America, which we're actually at, Sonoma, Watkins Glen. You could go back and look at Mexico. We're not too far removed. You could go and look at Road of America. All are normal road courses. And then, of course, you can look at the Roval and Chicago Street Course because it's a right and left turn. Really not traditional road courses per se, but one got raced on the infield of the Oval at Charlotte and the other in the actual streets of Chicago. Family of Man. Family of Man's going to pick Elliott for the win tomorrow. Yeah, I coin flip. I actually need about 20 coin flips. Maybe about 20, but yeah, I could think of at least 10 drivers that I think could easily win this race tomorrow, and Chase Elliott would be one of those. What's going on? Kryptonian, I think is what your name is. Either way, good seeing you tonight. And Joanne Wigley, thank you for your educational videos. I'm 87 and enjoy playing DFS cheaper contest. Thanks again. 87. That's awesome. Good to have you, Joanne. Yeah, my dad's 85. He doesn't play the DFS piece of it, but I've gotten him to where he plays the NASCAR Fantasy Live and sets his lineups every week. He looks at the betting lines, the betting trends, watches the video and all that. And we have fun with it. He enjoys doing it. But glad you're here. Glad you're able to make it. And congrats on making it to 87. That is phenomenal. Keep it up. Get 13 more in. Get to that 100 mark. But you can look at any of the road courses. Any of the guys that know how to turn right and left will actually be probably decent picks this week. But let's get into the past optimal lineups for the last 4 road courses, because we've only really run on... what's up, Daniel? Good seeing you tonight, sir. Let's get the optimal lineups from the previous 4 road courses. Typically, I do the last 4 races at a particular track, but because we only come to COTA once, and we only come to these road courses once a year, it's much easier and a little bit more consistent to look at the last 4 road courses. Gives us more of a trend line, kind of gives us more of an idea who's good at turning right and left and that type of thing, and kind of where the points fall for those when it comes to Draftkings. But in 2025, last year here at COTA, we had 95 laps. We had 1 dominator, and it was not SVG. SVG did not even make the optimal lineup last year here at COTA. Kyle Busch was the dominator, leading 42 laps. We had 4 drivers that hit place differential, which is 10 spots of difference. Christopher Bell, William Byron, Busher, Bowman, and Noah Gragson was really close. He had 9 spots of place differential. We had $900 left over in our salary cap, and that's pretty consistent for road courses. Somewhere between that 700 to 1,000 range is kind of a little sweet spot. But that doesn't mean we can't have more or a little bit less this week when we build our lineups. The other race to look at, Mexico, as you can see here, we'll kind of skim through it. I mean, you had SVG, who was the dominator for that race, but Alex Bowman made the optimal at COTA. Same thing with Christopher Bell, made both of those optimals, and William Byron made both of those optimals. Let's go to the next 2 and see if there are any more. SVG, once again, dominating 97 of 110 laps at Sonoma. Chase Elliott, Michael McDowell, Joe Logano, Justin Haley. So no, really the only one that would have been a repeat would have been SVG. So that's 2 for him. And then a third at Watkins Glen, SVG dominating with 38 laps. Busher, Byron, there's the third one for Byron. Bubba Wallace, Eric Jones, Zane Smith. So the number we're kind of need to remember to look at, and I didn't highlight this correctly, this would be Michael McDowell at 52, and I didn't fill that out correctly on the sheets, so we'll have to deal with that when we get to it. 47 points for William Byron, so we're kind of in that 50-point range. Let's look up here. You can get down to 47 and then 66. So we're looking at about a minimum for the high price drivers of about 50, 55 points. And for the more value type players, we're looking in that 45 to 50 point range. Yeah, there's 45 points for the lower price guys, the value guys, $7,500 or less, or 50, 55 points for the higher price drivers. Krypton says, my grandma is 89 and we watch every race together. He'll be grandpa. He will be happy to hear that somebody else was on here playing fantasy his age. I can't wait to tell him tomorrow when he gets to the house. Awesome. That's so cool that your grandpa comes over and still watches the race. Keep that up. That's awesome. Daniel says, lost money last week. Should I even play road courses? Laugh out loud. I mean, if you don't feel super comfortable with doing road courses, just play a little light. Play in some of the 3 maxes, or play 5 lineups in either the 4 max or something like that. The $4, $1, quarter, $2 setups. If you don't feel comfortable, don't spend a lot of money on it, and kind of keep track of how it goes, how you build your lineups, if it works, if it doesn't work. That's kind of how I do things when I don't feel real comfortable doing it. Like, I don't go full in on trucks and the O'Reilly series. I still play about 40 lineups, but I don't get into really the Chrome Horn with the full 20 max. I don't do 20 lineups in the most expensive one. I just do 20 in the $1 and quarter. And I just kind of see where it goes. I've happened to finish really well the last 2 weeks doing that. I'm just taking kind of what I know seems to work and moving it over there. I don't have as extensive of spreadsheets and details for those 2 series as I do the Cup series, because I do this video. So, and Daniel asks, do you strictly hand build or use an optimizer? I strictly hand build. I take that back. Yes, I hand built. I can show you what I do real quick. Let me pull it up. And kind of where I start. So I start with an Excel spreadsheet that I put in, who I think my favorite driver is. Maybe this week it's SVG, and it autofills in the cells. So favorite driver, and it fills it in, and it'll have the price and everything. And then what I'll do is I'll use that to build. And so I use my ranking system, and I kind of put in who and where and what for each line, and it fills out up to 40 different lineups. And then like this kind of grayed out box, that's left blank for me to fill in the rest. So it's a pseudo hand build, but I built that spreadsheet to help me kind of get started. Because I was finding out that, okay, my favorite driver, I'm going to run in, 15 or 20 out of 40 lineups. Well, let me just fill in one thing, and it loaded into 20 lineups. And then my second favorite driver, I wanted to load into all these other cells. And then I was like, well, I always want to leave a couple spots blank because I know that there's some variables that need to happen. So I leave some spots blank. That's kind of how I hand build. So it is a hand build, and it's not really letting a computer decide or figure out what it is. I don't know. So Daniel goes, how much? So I can use that. I used to use Sabre, but it's expensive. I don't know. I haven't put a price on it. And we can discuss it offline. I don't mind sharing my tools. And I probably should come up with something that has a monetary value on it, because I do put a lot of time and effort into it. I just probably shouldn't just give stuff away for free. Well, I have actually, I don't know if you guys missed it last week or not, but I have started a OpenClaw. I bought another computer, and it will literally just run OpenClaw. It's only going to run NASCAR, DFS, and things of that nature. And I'm going to actually have it try to build a website with information and all this stuff in it. So what I just got it started literally 2 days ago, and I guess I understand computers enough, but I do not understand coding and lines of using terminal prompts and things like that. So I'm having to do a lot of YouTube video watching and figuring out how this OpenClaw AI system works. But I see the potential 6 months from now from that being a really, really cool tool to be able to use. So give me some time. Hit me up in a message or email mark@racingthedraft.com, and I will figure it out. And if anybody else wants it, you can always email me. I'm pretty open with most everything. Are you able to min max on the Excel, or do you upload it to? So I have to go in and enter the contests on the mobile site, and then I will pull. Maybe I'll do a video, either maybe tomorrow or next week or something, where it kind of shows how I build. The thing is, I just don't want to build all my lineups on video. Maybe what I'll do is I'll do a video with the build and the upload, and upload it after the race. So that way you can kind of see how I go about doing all the uploads and everything, and how I end up doing the build. And after the race starts, who cares if you have my lineups? But it'll show you kind of how that all works. I'll see if I can come up with something. Thanks, Family Man. Yeah. Yeah, Family Man's been with me, I guess, almost for 3 years now. And we talk a lot. I plan on having a Discord channel. Very soon I'm gonna have OpenClaw help me get that set up and run. And I'll actually have so the bot on there, his name is actually Winston for the Winston Cup race. I thought Winston was kind of a cool thing, but it'll be Winston bot. And I'll actually probably be able to have it to where, depending on how many tokens this thing starts burning through, I might be able to have it to where you guys could come in and ask it questions, and it can possibly give you answers. I got to figure out what the price is on that, because what I have been seeing is it can burn through a lot of tokens, which then gets expensive. What's up, Lost Profit? I'm so tempted to max 150, but I'm going to try to limit myself. I don't know if you need to go 150. I mean, when I run these, so I run max 80 in the 150 lineup. And I tell you what, I'm not sure that 150 helps. I'm not even sure that 80 really helps. I don't ever do it in the max $5 one. I do it in the 50-cent, but so it's not that big of a loss. But I very rarely make enough money back on it to really run that many. I don't know. There's pros and cons to doing max 150s. I think it costs too much in to try to get that back. You've got to end up having, like, let's look at this. Hold on. What's the payout for the 50-cent 150 entry? Let's see. NASCAR, the 50-cent, let's see, tournament. Let me pull it up. Full contest details. So let's pull this over. All right. So 50-cent entry, you can do up to 150, which is $75. And you would have to finish, you'd have to have at least one. I mean, not just one. I mean, you could have 3 entries finish in the top 50 out of 71,000 entries. You're going to have at least 3 to get your money back. And then if you happen to finish, let's say you finish 4th with 2 other people, yes, you're going to win money, but the risk to reward on the Minimax, it's very tough. And when you're going to get 7,000 entries, it goes back to the same thing as doing like the $4 chrome horn. You're going against 37,000 entries to potentially get first. If you max out the 20, it's an $80 entry. Well, you've got to have at least one. Well, you've got to have multiples that get you at least in the top 50. One. If you just do one, you have to beat 37,000 other entries out to win the 20 just to get your money back. I don't know. It's tough. DFS NASCAR is tough. You ran a whole season max entry, the $5, and you get so much more coverage if you play right that you almost always at least break even. And some weeks you win. I mean, the problem is, yes, and I think that's where finding the top 15 drivers is highly, highly important, and just sticking to that and then mixing and matching. So I always talk about the prime, the subprime, and the ones I don't want to use. And it's, the prime or the top 15, then the next 10 would be the subprime, which would give you 25, and then there's 11 or 12 that you just don't use, or very, very sparingly, only if you've got to fill out. And To do 150 lineups, you almost have to use an optimal. Daniel says, what about the $20,000 Hot Rod 5 Max? Are you talking... Let's see, the Hot Rod 5 Max entry, $3. Yeah, so that... I mean, you're talking $15 entry. There are almost 8,000. We can round it up. 8,000 entries. And you've got $15 in. I mean, you got to just get one in the top 115. That's much more doable. This is the Max 5 or the Max 3s are much more of a cash like build than it is a tournament build. The tournament builds, to win them, you just have to, you've got to find the needles in the haystack and run them when nobody else is running them. Hit the thumbs up from Mark if you, yes, thank you, Joanne. Hit the thumbs up, make sure you like and subscribe. And we do this every Saturday night. Sometimes we get into some of these little tangents where I kind of go off the beaten path a little bit, but it's typically always in good. I just want people to play smart. That's my only thing. And play within your limits and means. This is supposed to be fun with a chance to win a little bit of money. I always look at this as very similar to, hey, this is my night out at the casino. I'm going to play the $5 blackjack table for 2 hours, and I'm going to spend $100 and I'm going to have a good time with some friends and have a couple drinks or whatnot. And it's fine. It's not going to break me. If I happen to break even, awesome. If I happen to double up, even better. But if I lose it all, it's okay. That's you have to play smart. Daniel says, I've been using COTA AI to build some lineups and research with prompts. How's that going, Daniel? Has that helped or not helped? I'm very curious. Blaney is the clear-cut best dominator tomorrow. His fantasy numbers were off the charts compared to everyone else. Yeah, we're going to get to that in just 1 second. In fact, let's get back into this. We'll be here till race time tomorrow. But either way, those are the optimals. SVG, he's just a heck of a road course racer, but he struggles at COTA. He's always run well. He just hasn't been able to finish well. All right, so on the more expensive $7,500 and up drivers, we're looking at that probably about 53 to 55 point sweet range to get into the optimal. Below 7,500, we could probably be in the 45 point range. And then to be in the top 15, and that's what I was talking about, the top 15 in Draftkings points is kind of the prime drivers. And that is going to need about 32 points. And that's where your sweet spot kind of lies. And those are the drivers that you want to play the most of. And when I say the most of, you want to have 15% ownership or more of a driver if you think they're going to fall into that category. Anything below that, you start to knock off, the ones that, okay, this person way overqualified. They're not that good at road courses. They just got lucky with one lap. Their crew's not that good. There's lots of variables that kind of go into it. Their history's not that good. Their practice sessions were not that good. And it's still a kind of a guessing game because I honestly don't know what to do about the Toyotas for tomorrow. I'm a little bit of a head scratcher there, but so 32 points is kind of the bottom of the barrel for potentially being in the top 15 in points. And if once we put them on the calculator, if it's anything less than that, it's probably somebody that I'm probably not going to have much interest in. I'm not going to tell you how to play or not play. I'm just here to give you what I think are potential point totals once we put on the calculator, and what they've done prior at road courses or at COTA. But either way, if you happen to be new here, I appreciate you tuning in. Make sure you hit the like, subscribe button like we talked about. But this first cover sheet for SVG, Shane Van Gisbergen, this gives you his price. This is the most expensive driver so far this year, $13,000. And that's still a bargain because he was $15,000 today for the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series race today at COTA. So he was $2,000 more expensive. He did make the optimal. He did win the race. So there is something to be said about that for that price tag. If you didn't have him, well, you probably didn't win money. I had him in quite a few lineups, and I did pretty well. He is starting 13th tomorrow. So there is a little bit of place differential potential here with SVG. There's also a little bit of danger that he's going to have to actually get up, race, and pass some people. He won't just pull away from everybody. Now, he's also pretty good at passing people. He did that a lot today. On the second line here are his practice speeds. We have not talked about this. This year. He was 20th in practice, single lap, fastest speed. He was 20th out of the 37 drivers that are starting. He did 14 total laps at practice. He was third fastest in 5-lap consecutive average. So over the course of 5 laps where he did not come in and pit, he was third fastest. So that's pretty good. That's pretty good movement upwards when everybody else was falling off or having not consistent laps. He was falling off a little bit. Then we have the last 5 races, and this time it's the last 5 road courses, which happen to be COTA, Mexico, Sonoma, Watkins Glen, and the Roval from last year. He has 4 wins out of those 5, 4 top 5s, 5 top 10s, 5 top 20s, a 67.6 Draftkings average. Remember, what we were looking at for being in the optimal was at about that 50, 55 point range for expensive drivers. Well, he's crushing it on the average. And I didn't fix that. He does not have a 67.6 average finish. He has actually a second place average finish. Let me pull that up so I can fix that as we go. That's so annoying. I didn't mean to do that. Average finish. All right, I'll just slide that over here. So I've got it. All right. So SVG has a second place average finish, 2.7 average running position. He finished 6th here at COTA last year. So the last race at this racetrack, he has a 6th place finish. He has 13 total road course starts, 7 wins, 10 top 10s, 10 top 20s, a 7.1 average finish. Now, new, if you have been watching so far this year, something I started doing last year was I was able to find all of the driver detail for practice laps. So this is every practice lap that they ran in green flag conditions, and this shows kind of where they fell. So the blue is Michael McDowell. He actually had the fastest single lap speed. Ryan Blaney is in green. He had the best average over the course of practice for the long run. And then SVG is in the yellow. And the white line is the average of all the times. So this kind of gives you an idea of where everybody's going to follow. Michael McDowell and Ryan Blaney will be on everyone's sheet. Of course, theirs also. But SVG is the added, and that's who we're talking about. So as we can see, Ryan Blaney was actually much faster than SVG all through practice, and even with fall off and everything else. And this is what Matt was talking about. All the dynamics, all the scoring, everything else is showing that Ryan Blaney was better than SVG during practice. Does that mean he's going to be better than during the race? We'll have to watch the race and see. But if we're looking at stats and figures, and that's what I base a lot of how I build my lineups. Some of it's a little bit on how I feel and a little bit of gut check, but this number for Ryan Blaney is a really, really good number. Sorry, my dad just texted me. He's watching basketball. So this is the practice laps throughout the entire practice. It kind of gives you a more of a visual indication on what to potentially look at. And we'll do that for every driver. And Andrew, going on, buddy? Seems like Bell likes running long, so he has the tires at the end. Yeah, we'll get to Bell in just a minute, and we'll be able to look at his practice speeds and kind of see where he falls compared to Blaney and the rest of them. But I think Blaney was actually a little bit better, if I remember correctly. But I also have been kind of staring at the screen for a couple of hours today, and sometimes I lose track. But SVG, this is the best and worst finishes. So the same track, last 5, and the trend. The trend is actually the last 5 road courses, which happen to be the last 5 races that we're looking at anyways. So these two stay the same, but the way I have this set up, it's going to spit it out to be the same. So either way, these lines are the same, but he averages 55 laps. Most of these races are right around 90 to 100 laps. He's averaging well over half the race in the lead. He has an average fast laps, including laps led, for 21.8. So not only is he leading over half the laps, he's also has almost 25% of the fast laps. And that's why he just absolutely crushes Draftkings. Okay, so let's put him on the calculator because he's going to start in 13th. He is the betting favorite. I think he's only plus 120, so that's a 1.2x on a $10 bet would win you $12. So not really that good of odds because you have 36 other drivers in the race tomorrow that could probably possibly beat him. Probably not, but there's probably 5, maybe 10 that could potentially beat him. I mean, he's got 12 people starting in front of him, so 12 people beat him in qualifying. All right, so if we honestly think, okay, what's he going to do? He's going to finish first. Well, if we get to average half his average laps led, let's just go 20. Let's go 20. No, 10. Let's go 10 fast laps and 20 laps led. 66.5, which is about what his average is for DraftKings at 67. Well, the optimal we talked about, somebody like SVG at 13,000 is going to be probably 55. And then to be in the top 15, he needs to be in 32. Well, he crushes both of those. So let's say he doesn't lead very many laps. Let's say he leads 5. And maybe he has 10 fast laps. And he finishes 7th. Well, now he's not in the optimal anymore. He can, if he gets up to, he needs probably a 4th place finish with these two stats to probably be in the optimal. Possible and very doable for SVG. He's hands down probably the best road course racer in NASCAR right now. At all tracks combined. Maybe not at COTA, but once again, he did just win the O'Reilly race today. So, Daniel says, if I ran 10 lines in the 20 max, for example, taking what you said about the prime drivers, 15%, that would mean 1 or 10%. 15. All right, I'm not following you, Daniel. Let me see if I can figure this out. 15 drivers, all at least in one lineup. 15 drivers. So what I'm saying is when I start my builds, so if I ran 10 lineups and I had 15 drivers that I want to make sure that were my prime drivers, I'm going to pick who are my top probably 3 or 4. And that's where I'm going to start with my builds on my lineups. And I'm going to take my top 1. So if I had 10 lineups and my favorite driver, I'm going to run him. If I'm only running 10 lineups, I'm going to run him in 5 to 6 lineups. Then my second driver, I'm going to run probably in 4 to 5 lineups. Third driver, probably maybe again 4 to 5, maybe 4. My fourth driver, probably 3 to 4. And then I'm going to start to fill in the blanks. Because more likely those top 4 drivers are probably going to be, number 1, chalky. Means everybody else is going to be running them. The ownership is probably going to be about the same. So I'm not expecting much out of those 4 drivers other than they're going to be pushes. So it becomes very important after you get past those 4 to maybe 5 drivers of those top 15 drivers that you start to find those little needles in a haystack. And I'll pinpoint. Family Man and I talk about it as being a sneaky pick, or it's just somebody who's not going to be run a whole lot. You're looking for that sub 5% owner or 5% driver that's going to end up in the top 15 of DraftKings points. And typically there's almost one every week. The thing is, you just have to find it. And typically that one is the one that helps people win money in tournaments. Sneaky picks, you don't necessarily have to find sneaky picks with cash drivers. That's why sometimes these 3 max tournaments run a lot like a cash tournament, because you don't necessarily have to find the sneaky pick. Finman says, at 13,000, do you think SVG needs to dominate a portion of this race? Yes, I do. To be optimal, I mean, let's put it on the calculator. I think he needs. Can he have 5 out of 95 fast laps and lead 5 laps and get 60 points? I mean, yeah, that seems very possible that he would get the optimal. I mean, last year they easily put him in the optimal. I mean, I think it also depends on what other drivers in price range come into play here. That changes the variable also. I mean, SVG was 10,500 at Mexico, got 68 points. SVG dominated a ton at Sonoma, got 86 points. And he was 12.5. He was 12.7 at Watkins Glen, got 63.6, and easily was in the optimal. So it's 63.6 points at 12,700, which is close to the 13,000. He led 38 and had 18 fast laps. Well, he can get, because of his starting spot, he can get to 60.5 with only having 5 fast laps and 5 laps led. So, yes, I think he can still be in the optimal and not have a dominant run as long as he wins the race. If he doesn't win the race, if he finishes 4th, he's going to need to have a more dominating run and just have a bad pit stop at the end, or maybe just get beat in the corner and lose a couple of spots or whatever. Andrew says, do you compare driver salary to what you project? I'm usually looking for 6x salary. SVG would have to get 78 points. No, because of, yes, I think 6x is a lot. Because what you're talking about is SVG would need to get to 78 points. For him to get to 78 points, he would have to have, I mean, if he had 20 fast laps, would you say 78 points? So he would have to lead 40 laps. He would have to lead over half the race and have at least 25, almost 25% of the fast laps to get what you're asking for. That is a tall ask to get to, especially at COTA for SVG. I'm not necessarily saying everybody should or shouldn't run SVG at 50% in your lineups. I'm not saying that at all. I actually don't like that call. I think SVG is probably going to be in my top 4 drivers. I'm not sure he's going to be my number 1 driver by any means. Number 1, because his price tag does limit you a little bit on certain things, but it's highly risky. He needs to have an SVG type of day. If he doesn't, you wasted $13,000. So I'm still going to probably have SVG. I'm probably going to have him in that 35 to 40% range. So if I'm running 10 lineups, I'm going to run him in 3 to 4 of my lineups. So, I like his starting spot. It gives me a little bit of room to run. If he does get up front, he doesn't have to lead as many laps or have as many fast laps. Famous says, yeah, I was going to say if another expensive driver that he might need to lead more. Yes. I was going to say if another expensive driver does good, he might need to lead more. I mean, the problem is you don't have enough laps to lead a whole lot more. And I don't really necessarily think so, because the ones that we're thinking about that should run well aren't necessarily starting up front. I think this becomes a little bit of a place differential. Now we're going to have somebody to lead some laps. And, you know, the guy starting from the pole may actually end up leading a ton of laps because he's pretty good at road courses. He's really good at COTA. And he's won the last 2 races. And he's starting from the pole. All the trends are pointing towards Tyler Reddick. So, you know, I also think it's risky taking the pole sitter to do anything. But momentum is definitely on that kid's side right now. Connor Zilic, though, that's next in line here at 11,500, starting from 25th. I mean, for natural talent, Connor Zilic might be for natural talent, he actually might be better than SVG because of his age difference. You give Connor Zilic another, 15 years? Because I think, it might be 17 years that SVG has on Connor Zilic. And Connor Zilic might be close to as good as SVG at this point. Connor slipped a little bit today in the O'Reilly race, but that was not all his doing. That's the other thing is you're not out there by yourself. You're out there with 36 other drivers who want to do the same thing that you're doing. But either way, Connor Zilic has only run 1 road course in this next gen era, and it happens to be a COTA. And he finished 37th. So, and that was his first outing. It was last year, this course. And he got pushed. Actually, he got hit and rammed into the barrels, and he was done. So he didn't get much time to really play with this car at this track. So either way, but let's look at his practice speeds. Once again, he is in the yellow. Once again, Ryan Blaney's in the green. Michael McDowell is in the blue. You know, he fired off pretty quick. Fell off a little bit, which is still fine. I think he'll improve from this. The nice thing about where Connor is starting is he's starting 25th. You know, if we think that he's a potential top 5, if everything goes according to plan, then starting 25th gives us 20 spots of place differential. I mean, I think Connor Zilic is easily capable of doing that. He was able to battle back today to end up getting a top 10 finish after he got destroyed like 3 times today in the O'Reilly race. It was crazy. And he still battled back every time to get to the top 10. So for Connor's price, he's going to need to get to that 60-point range that we talked about. Maybe 55 points, probably closer to 60. So if he needs to get the 5th, if he gets to 5th, that's 20 spots of place differential. And he only needs 3 fast laps and 1 lap's lead. And the 1 lap lead is really just a gimme. I'd give everybody a 1 lap lead because it's so easy to get off of different pit cycles and lead a lap that you just can't ever predict the 1 lap lead. It's when you want somebody to lead 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 laps. That's when this becomes more of a variable. But that gives him 60.6 points. Now, if he doesn't do quite as well, he gets a 10th, that's a 50.6. Now, remember, we said 55 points was kind of the sweet spot on the more expensive drivers in the optimal, and 45 points for $7,500 or less. So, and it was actually 32 to be in that top 15. I think Connor Zilic is perfectly fine to be in my 15 drivers that I consider to be kind of my prime drivers. I have no problem with this at all. And in fact, he may get overlooked slightly. I mean, his price tag is going to be up there, but he's never finished. I mean, his best finish is 37th in the Cup Series on a road course. So he's still learning this car. He's still learning this team. All the things are still new. It is very possible that he just has a normal average day and finishes 20th. Well, it's 11,500. That's a tough pill to swallow too. That's why I won't go very heavy on Connor Zilic. And I think he actually may get some ownership because of where he's starting and his price tag and his name. Everybody's kind of considering him the next Joey Logano, the best thing since sliced bread, blah, blah, blah. I'm not, it is what it is. I'm like I said, I'm fine with him being in my prime 15. I'm sure he's in my prime 5 or prime 4. I think he'll probably get 15-20% ownership for me. Daniel says I'm on base 44 currently, building. a Saber Sim dude app. It's currently writing code and asked me a couple questions. Asked me how I want to upload data projections and asked me what sport do I want to start with. I don't know what Base 44 is. Is Base 44 an AI? And you're building a Saber Sim dude app. Also asked how many lineups per optimization. I have never run anybody else's optimizations because I don't trust them, to be perfectly honest. So I just do hand builds. Yes, it's an AI. Ask me how many lineups per optimization. I don't really understand what that question is asking, Daniel. Just because I don't play with optimizations very much. Um, so I wish I could be, I said I'll always be honest. I don't know enough about optimizations to know what it's asking for. So I'll try my best to give you answers when I know them, but I'm not even sure I could guess at what it's asking or what you're asking. So, maybe if I saw it, if you want to, email me screenshots or whatever, I'll be more than happy to take a look. I don't want to try to BS you and tell you something that I shouldn't tell you, and it screws up whatever AI or whatever optimization tool that you're running. I know a lot of the optimization tools that I've heard when I've listened to mostly like NFL, DFS podcast and YouTube channels. They talk about, I'm going to run 15% of a player, and they tell the AI, hey, I want 15% of my builds with this player, and they want 10% of whatever next player, and I want I don't want to go over 30% on this player or whatever it is. They put minimums and maximums of percentages, and I'm very, very being honest. I don't know enough about it. I know Family Man has probably used some of those optimizers before. I just have never really used them to give a full explanation. And Daniel asks, I think SaberSim basic package is like 500 lineup build set. Then it narrows it down to the number of lines it needs. Okay. I think when we have some time, we should jump on a Zoom and see what we could build. Yeah. I have no problem doing that sometime in the next couple weeks or whatnot. And yeah, we can record it, and if it's good, I'll throw up on this channel. If it's crap, we can just delete it. I don't know. Whatever. We can figure something out. Just shoot me an email, mark@racinginthedraft.com, and we'll touch base. All right, William Byron, $10,000 starting in 10th. Starting to get into the normal price range again. William Byron's a decent road course guy. He has an average finish of 6.8 over the last 5 races, not 45.1. Gotta fix that. I need to make a note. I wish my AI was working because I could just tell it. It would go and do it while we sat here. No wins in the last 5 races. I know he's got road course wins. Hold on. Something's not jiving with my spreadsheets. Give me 1 second. Let me pull that up. I think I ran into this problem last week too. William Byron has 2 wins for his careers on road courses. 7 top 5s, 16 top 10s, and 26. Okay, all that's right. Just my win column's not showing up where it's supposed to be. And a 14.7 average finish for those 38 total starts. All right, so I just need to pull that over here. Add one more thing to things I need to look at. Sorry about that. I need to make sure I fix that. I might be busy in 6 weeks with a baby coming. Yeah, you might be. I'll try to get to it before then. Like I said, just shoot me that email and we'll touch base. Yeah. And Jeff's a pretty good road course racer, Jeff Gordon. But Jeff Gordon is not as good as Jeff could not compete with SVG. He could not compete with Connor Zillage. He could not compete with Larson. He couldn't compete with Chase Elliott. I think William Byron has more natural talent than Jeff does, or you did when Jeff was around. Jeff had great talent, but nobody else was good at road courses. All these kids now are good at road courses. They come up learning how to run road courses. They spend months and weeks in sims doing road courses. They go and learn at Skip Barber on road courses. They spend a lot of time. That's how Tyler Reddick got good. He literally spent an entire offseason running road courses with Skip Barber and learning from the best of the best. And when he came back, he was good. So, yeah, I mean, William Byron's good. I don't know. I mean, some of it's because of Jeff, but not all of it. Let's look at his practice speeds. Like I said, he was 16th in single lap, 16th in 5-lap consecutive average. So he's about average, which was kind of where he falls. White line is the average line. The yellow line is William Byron. But Ryan Blaney just knocks it out of the park. And actually, Michael McDowell is faster than William Byron, at least for practice. So starting in 10th, get to your average finish of, I want to make sure I get this right, 14.7 and 6.8. So, yeah, so that part is right. So if he gets to a 7th starting in 10th, then it's not going to be enough. There's not a place differential there. Go to 7th. I mean, it's 42.6 if he has 3 fast laps and leads 5 laps, because he has an average lap led of 0.4. So we'll give him the 1. And the fast laps at 3, it's 41.6. It's in the top 15. So it's not an absolute no-go. But we need to get him closer to that 55 or 60 point range, which is second or better, probably first, if he only has 3 fast laps and 1 lap's led. If this variable goes up a little bit, maybe he has to get to second or third. I mean, Byron has always, his average running position was 9.4. So he always runs really well at road courses. He runs in the top 10, stays in the top 10, and sometimes that's all you need. Let me pull my email up. I'll take a look real quick. The Advisor, 20 lineups, player exposure 60%. How often a player can here? You mind if I pull this over? Salary cap, minimum salary cap, classic drivers. Okay. Yeah, I mean it's like a typical one. Now are you able to get into which players to run at certain percentages also? Either way, we'll jump on a Zoom in the next week or two and talk about it if our time allows. I know you're busy, I'm busy, we're all busy. So, but either way, let's get back to this. Not everybody wants to hear all about that. They want to hear about these drivers. So I mean, I think William Byron has a legitimate shot. He could easily win this race. He's won COTA before. Reddick, Christopher Bell have all won here before. So it's not out of the realm of possibilities for him to finish first. The competition's really stiff up there. So I'll have some William Byron. I'll probably run him in that 10 to 15% range. I'm not going to go super heavy. I'm not going to go super light. I'll probably be with the field on Byron. It's very easy if we remember correctly. We go back and look at the previous optimal lineups. We had one driver starting in the top 10 there, one driver starting in the top 10 in Mexico, one driver in the top 10 starting from Sonoma, and two drivers from Watkins Glen started 10th or better. But we didn't have a whole lot of people. You don't have to go dumpster diving. You don't have to go into the 30s to find drivers that make optimals. In fact, out of the last 4 road courses, none at COTA last year. The worst starting spot was 24th. Mexico was 32nd with John Hunter Nemechek. Sonoma was 29th with Justin Haley. And then 33rd was Zane Smith at Watkins Glen. So we don't have to go dumpster diving, and getting guys that are starting in and around the 10th place starting spot is perfectly fine. Daniel says, what I can do is transcribe your stream after this and plug it in and tell you to do research as a GPP winning DFS player. Just ask it a ton of detailed prompts and see what spits out. Yeah, go for it. Let me know what you come up with. Andrew says, what I like about optimizers is looking at ownership and deciding who to go over the field or under the field. Yeah, and that's what I always talk about. If I want to be over or under the field on a particular driver, like for William Byron, I think he will probably be about 15 to 18% ownership. And I'll probably be right at that or maybe a tick under. Because his practice speeds didn't scream out to me that it was really great. It's not like a Ryan Blaney, who's super cheap. I don't know why he was so cheap this week. But there's some real surprises on some really, really inexpensive drivers this week. But if we don't continue on, we'll never get there. And what was her name? Is she still even here? Or did she fall asleep yet? Joanne. If we don't keep this going, Joanne may fall asleep on me. I don't want Joanne to fall asleep on me. Christopher Bell, $9,800, starting in 8th. In the last 5 races, he has 1 win, 5 top 5s. So every race over the last 5 races last year at road courses, Christopher Bell finished in 5th or better. I don't have Chicago road course because it's such a unique, and I don't know where he finished, so I really don't care. It was Chicago. But 5 of the more road course style races, Christopher Bell finished top 5. 57.8 Draftkings average. He had an average finish of 2.6. SVG had a 2.0. Christopher Bell is very close to being in the same realm as SVG on average finishes. Average running position of 6.9. 32 total starts on road courses. 12 times he's finished in the top 5. 23 times he's finished in the top 32. There is absolutely something to be said about these dirt track guys and how it transfers over to road courses. Maybe there is something to it, because in iRacing, I do pretty well at the ovals. I'm not that good at road courses, and I don't run that well on dirt tracks. So maybe there's a correlation between road courses and dirt tracks. But I think a lot of it is because there's a lot of overcorrection. And corner speeds and those types of things, where ovals, it is just turn left. And Christopher Bell's practice speed. And then here's what really baffles me and has me really questioning what's going on with Toyota. Toyotas across the board during practice were awful. Like Christopher Bell was 27th in single lap and 28th in 5 laps. Biden's auto pen. That's funny. Says, yeah, Bell is a wreck magnet. I mean, can you really be a wreck magnet when you have 5 top 5s out of the 5 road courses, actual road courses from last year? Doesn't sound like a wreck magnet to me. It sounds like you're actually finishing. Now, this year at Super Speedways, but it's a whole nother beast. I'm not saying he won't get wrecked here or wreck himself here. But if we're looking at stats, 5 road courses, 5 top 5s with an average finish of 2.6. I mean, that's almost as good as SVG. But my biggest head scratcher from practice today was, what is going on with Toyotas? Why are they having such an issue? And then they come out and just light up qualifying. And I'm like, I have no idea which way to go with this now. I mean, when I say light up, I mean Christopher Bell starting in 8th. He was 28th in practice, 27th to 28th in practice. And if we look at his speeds, I mean, there's a 1.5, almost 2 second difference between Ryan Blaney and Christopher Bell on lap 3. And that stayed true almost the entire practice. And he's worse than the average for the entire practice. And then comes out and puts a great qualifying run in. Now, qualifying's only 2 to 3 laps. I understand they changed the setup a little bit. They bumped the air pressures up and go a little bit faster. But, I mean, he never showed the type of speed he had during qualifying. I mean, he was a full almost 1.5 seconds faster. Bell last year, see, Andrew says Bell last year practiced 15, 3 lap, 15 or 13, 5 lap, 4th, and 10 lap. Right. And where did he qualify? I could tell you. Let's see. Bell last year at COTA started 19th, finished in 1st. Well, he's starting in 8th. So, yeah, I mean, could easily get that. Is it better to spike between practice and qualifying or just stay consistent? That's the whole thing. And you don't know what games these guys are playing. I think if you happen to watch qualifying, I can't remember if it was Blaney or Boyer or one of the two of them were talking about how all of a sudden these road course practices have turned into Bill Elliott style practices. What Bill Elliott would do is he would practice half a lap at full speed and the other half of the lap at 3/4 speed. So nobody would ever know really what he had, and then he would go out, qualify, and blow everything away. And then when it came to the race, he would race fine. He just didn't want everybody to know what he had, so he would tank practice on purpose because he knew everybody was watching everybody's speeds. That's why, I mean, I like these. I just don't know how consistent and good they are, especially when we're only talking about 10 or 11 laps. And we're talking over the course of like a 2.5, 3 mile road course. You know, when you talk about a half-mile Martinsville, a 3/4 Richmond, or a 1 mile Phoenix, and they run 40 laps in practice, it's a little hard to start to throw things off a little bit. It's harder to deceive people on the speed. That you want to run the speed full because you want to see what the tire wear is. You want to see what the longevity is. Where road courses, I mean, we definitely saw tire wear over 10 laps. So at 750 horsepower, these guys wanted to go out and see what they actually had. So I think there's an in between this 8th and this 28th, and then I think just Christopher Bell being smart on road courses could work his way to the top. But either way, I think starting in 8th, you know, it's gonna have to be just like we looked at with William Byron. You know, it's gonna have to be a top 3. He's gonna need, you know, he averages 6.2 fast laps, so we'll give him the 6. And then he's gonna need to probably have 10 laps led would get us to 51.2 if he finished in 3rd. So that would probably put him close to that. 2nd, and then 1st would give you 57.2, which would probably put him right in the optimal at $9,800. You know, it's close enough to the optimal that you don't always have to find the driver that's going to be in the optimal to win a tournament. So now when you run the 150s, yeah, you kind of have to find the optimal. But even then, I'm not sure anybody had the optimal at Daytona, and I'm not sure anybody had the optimal at Atlanta in any of the 150s that I ran. So it's a needle in the haystack. Might be worse than a needle in a haystack. All right, then next in line here, Tyler Reddick, starting from the pole. Good God, this guy is on fire this year. You know, and when he cools off, who knows? But when he cools off, I mean, what's a cool off? You finish 5th? I mean, the guy is, I mean, I remember 2 years ago, he killed everybody in regular season points. Last year, I think between 2311 having their lawsuit issues, his little boy being sick and in the hospital with heart issues, that's a lot. That's a lot for anybody to deal with on a normal job. To go out and run the schedule that these guys run, that had to be just brutal for Tyler. I know, I understand why his head wasn't in the game. Well, guess what? The head's in the game. 2311's in the game, and they're coming out firing on all cylinders at this point. But his practice speeds, just like all the rest of the Toyotas, I mean, he's better than Bell, but it's still 3/4 of a second slower than Blaney until the very, very, very end. And it's hard to say if he didn't come in and make an adjustment or he adjusted something on his brake bias to get to that speed. But his fall off is not quite as great as Blaney's, but he's starting from the pole. Now, Tyler Reddick also has had an unbelievable consistent run at COTA. I think all 4 races he's finished in the top 5. Over the last 5 road course races, he's finished in the top 20, 4 times in the top 10. Now, his average finish, I know that's not right. His average finish over the last 5 road courses, excluding Chicago, is 9.6. So 10th place better or finish. So very consistent. The problem is he's starting from the pole. So you start from the pole, you're going to have to finish in first and lead 50 laps just to get the 58 points. That's over half the laps led. I mean, it's very possible. Probably, realistically, 35 laps. And I think because of the tire wear issues, it's going to be a little different. If you run that many, you probably have 10 fast laps. It gives you 58.25. Well, Christopher Bell starting in 8th, finishing in 1st, only has to lead 10 laps to get to almost that same point value. It's, and if Tyler Reddick happens to slip at all, let's say he does continue with his top 5 streak, that's 48.25. It's starting to get you outside the optimal range. Keeps you in the top 15, but it makes it a little bit tougher. So I'll probably still have some Tyler Reddick in my lineups, but I'm probably only going to have like 5 to 8%. Daniel says Chevy has won the most since 2020 at COTA. No. Most races since 2020. Now, are you saying, Daniel, you're asking if it's the most races at all of the racetracks and all the races, or are we talking just strictly COTA? Joanne says I'm going to fall asleep. If you do, this is on video on demand. You can catch up in the morning. I'm sorry we got on different tangents. I really appreciate you tuning in. I know these are really, really long, but I try to go in as much detail as I can. For just COTA, no, you had Reddick. You had, we had Bell last year. Year before that, we had Byron. And the 2020, let's see. Hold on. COTA. Let's see. Cup. Here, I'll pull this over. That way you can kind of keep. This is a great site if you've never used it before. It is racingreference.com or racingreference.info. I think if you put racing reference in any search, you'll get to it. For Austin Cup races, we have Chase Elliott, Chevy, Ross Chastain, Chevy, William Byron, Chevy, but then 2 Toyotas. The Fords have never won. So it's a 3-2 Chevy Toyota. So yes, Chevy has won the most here at COTA by 1. Toyota has 2. Now, Ford's had none. And Daniel says, I have zero interest in Hocevar. Yeah, I'd agree. If there's any time or place for paybacks, it's gonna be at a road course, or on a short track. So either here or Phoenix next week are great ways to retaliate without really retaliating. The problem is you got to catch the person. Hocevar's not bad. At road courses, he's not great either. Kyle Larson, 9,200, starting in 15th, was 4th in single lap, 10th in 5-lap consecutive average. Larson used to be extremely good at road courses, and in fact, he still is. It got a 28.8 average finish. Not good for last year, with only one top 20. He's got a -8 Draftkings average over the last 5 road courses. Not good. 44 total starts on road courses, though. And he has the second amount of wins, third highest win rating, 5. SVG has 6, and Chase Elliott has 7. So SVG, if he can win this race tomorrow, will tie Chase Elliott for current Cup drivers on wins. Practice speeds, I mean, were slightly better than William Byron, but still fell off and above the average, and still not even close to Michael McDowell or Ryan Blaney-esque speeds. And he's starting in 15th. At least he's got a little bit of room to move up. Larson does have a win here in the what was Xfinity Series, now O'Reilly Series. So it is possible that, and Kyle Larson's good at road courses. Like I said, he has 5 total wins on road courses for his 44 total starts, where Chase Elliott has 7 wins for 41 total starts. 15th starting spot, we get to is 6 and 6, so 6 average fast laps and 6 laps led. Get you, if he finishes in third, he gets you to 57.2. Remember, we need to get to 53 points probably at this point. It's 9,200. That puts him there. Can he fall to 5th and still make it? Yeah. So 5th or better for Kyle Larson. Go lead 6 laps and have 6 fast laps or something around those points would get him pretty close to being in the optimal or close enough that you'll still win money. Hocevar made a comment last week about COTA and made me definitely jump off also for Bubba. He said, pray for him for this race, but he's starting 24th. I feel like he may get a top 12 by not trying. Hocevar is definitely a wild shot. And I hate that he nicknamed Hurricane because I nicknamed him first and it was Chaos. So Carson will always be Chaos Hocevar to me. I don't care what the celebrities on NBC and Fox say. I'm more important than they are. I'm kidding. So I like the Kyle Larson play. I'll probably have about the same as I do as William Byron. I'll probably run in that 10 to 15% range with Kyle Larson. He's going to get mixed and matched in with SVG, mixed and matched in with Zilich, mixed and matched in with, a little bit of Reddick. And it's going to be a hodgepodge of pretty much everybody that we've talked about so far. There's nobody really up here that I'm a full fade on by any means. I could see possibly going in underweight with Tyler Reddick, but I could also see having 10% ownership in Tyler Reddick, where I'll probably have closer to 15% for Kyle Larson. Chase Elliott next in line here at $9,000, starting 15th. Practice was 13th and 6th, respectively, 14 total laps of practice. He has 3 top 5s, 4 top 10s over the last 5 road course races with an average finish of 8.8, which is pretty gosh darn good, and a 39.8 Draftkings average. He finished 4th in this race last year here at COTA. And if we look at his practice speeds on the chart, he falls in between Michael McDowell and Ryan Blaney. And not too far off from Ryan Blaney. He actually had a really decent run from lap 5 to lap 13. But actually probably closer to about a 5-lap run. He was close to Ryan Blaney. Still not as fast as Ryan Blaney was, though. So I could, starting in 5th, he's going to have to go lead some laps and have some fast laps. Now, he is currently the winningest driver in the Cup Series on road courses, but he's never won in the next gen era. Last year was much better for Chase Elliott on road courses than 2024 or 23. 22 was the year he was unstoppable. But if we start in 5th, if he gets to 1st and leads 10 laps, has 5 fast laps, it's 53.75 points. If he finishes in 3rd, it's 47.75 points. And like I said, the cut line is at about 52 for the optimal at this point. So he's not too far off from that. I don't mind running some Chase Elliott. Honestly, I'll probably have real close to the same as I did with his teammates, Kyle Larson and William Byron. He'll be somewhere in that 10 to 15% range. It's not a fade. I'm not going deep on it. Honestly, I think thinking about it, I probably will be 35% on SVG. I'll probably be 25% on Zillage. And then I'm probably going to be in this 10 to 15% range so far on most of these other drivers. I could be 10 to sub 10% on Tyler Reddick. And if it burns me, it burns me. But if it doesn't, I'll look great. Chase Briscoe, $8,700 in the last 5 road courses. He has 2 top 5s, 3 top 10s, 5 top 20s, 38.4 Draftkings average, which is not bad. Chase Briscoe has an average finish of 8.4, which is 3rd best on the board, 4th best on the board. Busher actually has a better average finish. So best finishes is Shane Van Gisbergen in 2, Christopher Bell at 2.6, Busher at 8, Briscoe at 8.4, 6.8 for William Byron. So 5th. He has a 5th best average finish currently at the last 5 road courses. He's starting in 3rd. I mean, once again, this is where the Toyotas just made me go, what is going on? Why is he starting in 3rd? Why is Tyler Reddick starting in 1st? Why is Christopher Bell starting in 8th? Because their practice speeds look like this. Way slower than Brian Blaney's. I don't understand it. It was not differences in the 2 practice sessions because there were Toyotas in both of them, and the Toyotas didn't look good at either one. And the track getting hotter should have slowed them down, not made them faster, unless they really bumped up the air pressures. I understand bumping up the air pressures and changing a little bit of how the rear end handles will absolutely make the car faster for a lap or 2, because after that, you will burn the living crap out of the tires and you're going to fade fast, which may be the possibility. And their true actual speed is what they practice like. You can get an artificial speed for qualifying, but everybody's going to do it. I can't believe they were able to bump up that much. Either they were sandbagging in practice or they just way overshot themselves for qualifying. Guess we're going to find out tomorrow. But starting in 3rd, he's easily capable of kind of running in the top 10 or top 5. The question is, with the competition that's out there, I don't know if Chase Briscoe goes and gets past. He's starting in 3rd, so he's going to have to get. Can he get out in front of Reddick, who's red hot right now? I don't know. But I don't mind it. But I'll probably be sub 10% on Chase Briscoe. I think he's more of one of my sub prime guys. I don't necessarily mind the play. I don't love the play by any means either. Yeah, so I mean, he's gonna have to finish at least top 3. If he leads 20 laps and has 5 fast laps, it puts him at 48. He needs to get to 52. So it's just gonna be really tough. I would not run Chase Briscoe in the same lineup as another top 5. Let's put it that way. If I run Chase Briscoe, I'm running the rest of the lineup outside the top 10. Same thing with probably most anybody that's starting in the top 10 because the last 4 optimals only have one driver starting top 10. So, and my lineups today for Truck and Xfinity that did well only had one driver who started in the top 10. So, that being said, there's something to it. AJ Allmendinger, $8,500 starting in 7th. AJ Allmendinger, the road course ringer. That used to be his nickname everywhere we went. Well, he's not. I mean, I guess he still is a road course ringer for the most part, but he's not the ringer like he used to be. Starting in 7th, practice was 12th and 7th. I mean, it's pretty good speeds for the old man. I am older. I can call him that. The old young man. AJ has an average finish over the last 5 road courses of 16.2. Remember, Chase Briscoe was a 8.4. 23.1 Draftkings average. No top 5s, only one top 10 in the last 5 races. He finished 30th in this race here last year. 50 total starts on his career and has only 3 wins, 9 top 5s. I mean, AJ's really good at road courses. He's pretty consistent. I mean, 36 out of 50 times he finishes in the top 20. Why was he starting in 7th? We look at the actual speeds on the speed chart. Kind of similar to where Chase Elliott is. Right in the middle of McDowell and Ryan Blaney. I think it's a fine play. I'm probably going to run 5% of AJ. It's not a full out fade, but I don't love it either by any means. Colleague is, has no manufacturing support whatsoever now that the truck team is with Dodge. The Xfinity team is pretty much advertising for Dodge. I just don't see where Chevy's going to give them much manufacturing support. So they're kind of left on an island all by themselves at this point. This is where Legacy Motor Club was 2 years ago when it finally got leaked out that Legacy was leaving Chevy and going to Toyota, and Chevy cut them off, kneecapped them, and it has taken Legacy. I still don't think they're even where they used to be to get back with enough true data for manufacturing support to get them built back up. And a colleague has definitely been cut off at the kneecap when it comes to all that. But they're going to struggle this year. Oh yeah, Chevy is definitely absolutely ghosting colleague. They're the ugly stepchild who's been put out to pasture. They're going to have to make a switch next year quickly to Dodge. If not, colleague, if Dodge doesn't come through with that, they're in deep trouble. AJ, like I said, I mean, middle of the pack. But, I mean, this is kind of consistent for almost everybody starting in the top 10. It's just right down the middle. It's better than the average guys. And it's not as good as Ryan Blaney. I mean, we haven't gotten to Ryan Blaney yet. And we're at 8,500. And this is the guy that I think has probably one of the best chances for a good run. But, I mean, we're talking the same numbers here. He's going to need to finish top 3, have 3 fast laps and lead at least 10. No, more than that, 15 laps. He hasn't done that recently, and I don't see him doing it. So, will I be a complete fade on AJ? Probably, almost. I'll have him in 1, 2, maybe 3 lineups out of 80. So, not pretty much a fade. Chris Buescher, 8,300. We just talked about Chris Buescher. He has the 4th best average finish with 8th And in his total career, he might actually be one of the top. SVG has a 7.1 average finish for 13 total starts, where Chris Buescher has 43 total starts and has a 12.3. Chase Elliott has a 9.2. Reddick has 11.2. So he's right in there in the top 5 for the best average finish on road courses in the garage. I remember there was a streak for probably 2 or 3 years where Chris Buescher just did not finish outside the top 10. Just would not happen. Like I said, he's got an 8.0 average finish and a 43.9 Draftkings average. And in the last 5 races, he's finished all of them in the top 20, and 4 in the top 10. I mean, he is very, very good. He's very consistent. Does have a win at Watkins Glen from 2024 season. So, good little road course racer. RFK's been showing really, really good speed so far this year. I have absolutely no problem. The speeds in practice were they're not really anything to write about. He's starting in 14th. He's falling in the same boat as I would put Kyle Larson and William Byron, to be perfectly honest. 10 to 15% ownership, not a fade. I'll probably be even with the field, maybe just a slight under, because I also just kind of spread my picks out a little bit. But I'm probably looking at running 10 to 15% of Chris Buescher. Starting in 14th, we've kind of gone down this path with a calculator. 14th, get up to 5th, lead. Starting in 14th, it's going to be tough to lead the laps. But if you have 5, let's say 5 fast laps, 50.5 at 8,300, it's going to be real close. Close enough that I think if you have him in a lineup, it may not be optimal, but it could be within points of being in the optimal. So I have no problem. And all you have to do is finish 4th. Gets him to the 52. So I have no problem at $8,300 with Chris Buescher starting in 14th. Ross Chastain, $8,100 starting in 2nd. All right, Ross has an average finish of 16.6 over the last 5 road course races. No top 5s, 1 top 10. He is with Trackhouse. I mean, the question is, Ross is really good at road courses. I understand that. He's running a Trackhouse, but you have an SVG and a Connor Zilic in your shop, and they're expected to do extremely well. And Ross is expected to do extremely well at these 3/4 of a mile, mile and a half type tracks. And he does. If you are Trackhouse and you're Justin Marks, I think you go, hey, Ross, go get what you can get. We're going to give you the same equipment as everybody else has got, but we're going to spend a little more time massaging the cars for SVG and for Connor Zilic, because it's going to be a little bit tougher for them to get week in and week out really good finishes, where we're only going to run 4 road courses this year. We want to make sure that those guys have what they need. You might have to take a back seat here. Not saying that Ross can't overcome that. He did. He qualified 2nd, but he was only 21st in practice, 8th in 5-lap consecutive average. His road courses last year were not great. If I'm Justin Marks, I'm like, hey, get what you can get. We're not expecting a whole lot. Just get what you can get. We're going to spend a little more time and money on Zilic and SVG because they're going to need to get these points where they can. If you get them, cool. We're not going to stop you. But I think if I'm guessing, that's where it is. Like I said, Russ is going to go out and run his ass off. He's going to do a good job. Practice speeds were solid, but he's starting in 2nd. He didn't have any top 5s last year in road courses. Or at least the 5 I'm looking at. I can't remember what he did at Chicago. But I don't see it. We don't have to put on the calculator. It's just, let's say he finishes in 5th, 39.5. It's sub prime, in my opinion. Kyle Busch, $8,000. I do not ever know what to do with Kyle Busch anymore at this point. there are points in times where I go, ooh, maybe this is going to be the week. Ooh, he did really well here last year. Oh, it was probably a fluke because it was 1 top 5, 2 top 10s for the last 5 road courses over last year. 16.1 average. Draftkings average has an average finish of 21.8, an average running position of 22. You're starting in 30th. Has only run good road course last year. Pretty much was here. I mean, he wrecked everybody at Mexico. It's just it has just been a tough road for our boy Kyle Busch at this point. But starting in 30th, we've got some room to run, and I think he's going to get ownership because of this room and because he ran here really well. I think last year was a fluke, to be perfectly honest. But if he can get to 15th, let's just give him 3 fast laps. We'll give him the token lap lead. We give everybody the token lap lead. It's like the participation trophy, which I hate. 44.6. If we're talking about 32 points for top 15, and for him, he probably needs to get to 50 points. He's getting close with the top 15. That's going to be the issue. So, am I going to run Kyle Busch? Yep. Am I going to run him probably as much as the field? I don't know. I think he probably gets 20% ownership. I'm probably going to be in the 15 to 20% because there's just a lot of room for him to run. And if he happens to fall to 20th, it's it takes me out of optimal range. Probably, it definitely takes me out of optimal range. But it's not an absolute crushing day. So, he would have to have a really bad day for him to really have a bad day. So I'm definitely going to run some Kyle Busch. I'll probably be, if I think he's going to be a 20% ownership, I'm probably going to run him 15. But I probably won't be overweight on him. Alex Bowman, 7,800, starting in 16th. Alex Bowman has an average finish of 14.4 or 14.0 over the last 5 road course races with 1 top 5, 2 top 10s. He's always run road courses pretty darn well. He has 5 top 20s. So all 5 of these races he's finished in the top 20. Like I said, he has an average finish of 14th, 34.1 DraftKings average. He finished 9th here last year. 41 total starts. Alex Bowman does have the 1 win at Chicago 2 years ago. And a 14.4 average finish. 32 out of 41 times he's finished top 20. Those are really good stats. 75% of the time he's finished in the top 20. He's starting 16th. Practice speeds did not look good. One of the worst, in my opinion, for his price tag and where he's qualifying. But let's go off of the potential here. So if he's got 16th as a starting spot, and let's say he can get to 6, get your token lap lead, 50.5. If he finishes in 6, gain 10 spots, and you're going to end up being real close. Like I said, the optimal line probably for him is about 52. Could even be 50. He could be in optimal range at this point if he has 5 fast laps. So once again, just like Kyle Busch, I'll probably have Alex Bowman. I'll probably have Alex Bowman slightly more. I'll have him probably about the same as I do Kyle Larson. Probably 15%. Where Kyle Busch, I'll probably have a little closer to 20%. And I haven't built lineups yet, so I don't fully know. But I'm just kind of guessing where I typically would fall. Ty Gibbs, $7,700 starting in 9th. Oh boy, this poor kid. Man, it has to be. You know what? It has to be a blessing to have a silver spoon, be born with a silver spoon in your mouth. But it also has to be such a curse. The stuff that got said this past week about Ty Gibbs and coming from Chris Gabehart. Chris Gabehart left no punches untold. He laid it out there. And it was definitely apparent last year at Phoenix, the way the rest of the Toyota the Gibbs drivers feel. They're not taking any flack from this kid. And he's struggling. I almost think that I think Ty would actually do super well if he went to either maybe Legacy or went to 2311 and maybe Tyler Reddick come over and take over the 54 or Bubba Wallace or maybe Corey Heim comes over here and just get Ty Gibbs away from JGR. Or maybe Ty Gibbs just goes, you know what? I'm just going to run a select handful of Xfinity and truck races and I'm going to just try to figure something else out because he just doesn't have the respect of the garage. Can't seem to run consistent. It's very apparent now that everything he's being given is being given because of who his granddad is, and I get it, but it's got to be tough. And then to lose your dad like he did, yeah, he's an Xfinity champion or O'Reilly champion, but yeah, what a tough row. Practice speeds were awful for the Toyotas, and once again, this is apparent. Worse than average for practice, goes out and qualifies ninth. To be perfectly honest, I don't have a whole lot of want or desire to go here. He has a 19.4 average finish over the last 5 races, road course races. Starting at ninth, I just think there's too much negative place differential here as a possibility. He would have to go up and finish top 3 with 7 fast laps to get to the 50-point range that he's going to need to get to. And I just don't know if that's... Is it possible? Sure. Is it plausible? No, I don't think so. The Autopin asked, does paying so much attention to fantasy stats and reading gambling lines, do you feel like that has skewed you the way you watch the races? Sure. But I think it's also expanded the way I watch races. I don't think it's necessarily negative in the way I watch races. I think it actually makes me more involved. It makes me watch the entire field. Like, I would probably, I don't have much care or want or desire for Cody Ware or JJ Yeley when he's in the races, or even a Riley not a Riley Herbst. But because of Draftkings, and I don't really do a whole lot of betting. Yeah, Bowman is a great play, Billy Man. I don't do a whole lot of straight up gambling on NASCAR. It's almost all DFS. I do a little bit of the pick 6 where you're kind of betting on finishing positions and DraftKings points and those types of things. So it kind of plays into the wheelhouse of what I'm doing. But it definitely changes how I watch the race. I'm watching the guy that's running in 24th, because I'm hoping that, he started in 30th. I need him to get up to 18th. I need to get him up to 16th. So it actually makes me focus on more of what's happening in the middle of the pack as much as I do who's leading a race. So has it changed? Absolutely. For the worse, I don't think so. For the better? I guess. It all depends. Has it changed the way you watch a race? I'm guessing because you asked, it probably has. Do you like it more or do you like it less? If you like it less, maybe don't gamble. I don't know. You do you. That's all I can say. But I enjoy it. I think it makes me pay attention to the entire field, not just my favorite driver, who happens to be Kyle Larson. Probably my second favorite would probably be, I really like Bell. I don't mind Denny as much anymore as I used to. He's kind of worn on me a little bit. I like him. I really like Hocevar, and I really like Connor Zillage. And there are a couple of drivers I really don't like. I really don't like Joey Logano. I respect him. He's a champion in our sport. He has his moments where he's great. Got it, and it just bites my ass when he does. But either way. Michael McDowell. Talk about a great guy. Hard not to like Michael McDowell. Qualified in 6th. I mean, he's got 3 top 5s in the last 5 road courses, 5 top 20s. 36.6 Draftkings average, and Michael McDowell is an 8.8. That is tied with Chase Elliott on average finishing spots in the last 5 races. He has an average of 13th place in average running position. The problem is he qualified in 6th. It's just you. Once again, if you're gonna take Michael McDowell, don't take anybody else starting in the top 15 or top 10. I mean, it's just going to be super hard for 2 drivers that start in the top 10 to have good enough days, lead enough laps, have enough fast laps to be viable. Is it possible? Sure, there's a slim chance it makes it happen because he has got a price tag of $7,600. He is fairly inexpensive, and we still haven't even gotten to the fastest guy on the track yet. $7,600. We're at Michael McDowell. And he was for 1 lap the fastest guy. But he's starting in 6th. If you're going to, I will have as much Michael McDowell as I do probably AJ, which will probably be 3 out of 80, maybe 4 out of 80. So less than 5%. Biden says, I don't understand fantasy or gambling, but I'm Team Chevy since we lost Earnhardt. Yeah, I get that. Yeah, well, I mean, I appreciate you coming over and tuning into the channel. It talks a lot about all the drivers and where the average finishes are and where they or everything. Yeah, I mean, if you ever decide to do DraftKings, not betting, I think kind of the more fun, safe play is to run. I think Joanne, she may have fallen asleep. She said she was going to fall asleep. She's 86, 37 years old. She does the really cheap 10 cents or probably quarter, and she probably pays $1 to $2. She may win a couple dollars, but she now has a vested interest in watching, 10, 15 drivers in a race instead of just having her favorite driver. I still have my favorite driver. I still have Kyle Larson that I root for every week, regardless of how much I put him in my lineups or not. It just makes it kind of fun. And if you happen to win a little bit, you win a little bit, and you feel good about it. If you happen to lose $2, I mean, some people, $2 is a lot. I get it. But if you happen to lose $2, okay, I lost $2. I wish I could play that cheaply. The problem is, it does. All of a sudden, you win a little bit. You're like, ooh, I'll play $4 next week. Ooh, I won. I'll play $6. And that's how you get hooked. That's how they get you. I get it. Ryan Blaney, 7,500, starting in 4th. Once again, I mean, we're in the same boat. I think you can only take one of these drivers starting in the top 10. I'm not saying it's an absolute, but I just think I don't know how the math works. Because we're all saying all these drivers have to finish 3rd, or have to finish 2nd, or have to finish 1st. And not get overtaken by a Kyle Busch that starts in 30th and finishes 11th. Because, I mean, if you look at it, so let's run. So we already know Ryan Blaney was the fastest in practice. He's really, really good. He has an average finish of, where is Ryan Blaney? 17.6. I mean, his average finishes are not great. He's not super great road courses. This weekend, he unloaded and he was fast. Joanne, you're still awake. All right. Good seeing you. I like Todd Gillen to make the optimal. Where's Gillen starting? 17th. Ooh. That's a tricky one. All right. We'll get to him in just 1 second. But I want to kind of see what this looks like if we've got a Ryan Blaney starting in 4th and what he and somebody else would have to do. Let's say he does win, but he has 5 fast laps and has 10 laps led. But that's the 52 that we need. All right, so that, or even the 50 at 7,500 is probably 50 points to get in the optimal. All right, so he's going to make the optimal. Now, the guy starting 2 spots behind him, let's say he finishes in 2nd. Now remember, we are completely taking Tyler Reddick out of this picture. We're taking SVG out of this picture. We're taking Connor Zilic out of this picture. We're taking Chase Elliott out of this picture. But Michael McDowell, starting in 6, goes and finishes 2nd. And has 4 fast laps, and let's say he leads 10 laps too. Well, that's 50.3. And we need to kind of get to that 50 spot. So he's just on that cusp. And we've only spent, what, $15,100? Okay, so we're still in decent shape there. And then we'll put Chase Elliott in, because Chase Elliott's decently priced, and he's starting in 5th. Let's say he finishes in 3rd, leads 10 laps, has 5 fast laps. That's 47.5. Not quite at that 52 anymore. And it costs you $9,000. So you're now at 24,600, something like that. It still leaves you $25,000 left over to go spend money on. Is it possible? But when you are now saying that you are going to hit the trifecta, you're predicting who's going to finish 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. The odds of Chase Elliott, Ryan Blaney, or Chase Elliott, Michael McDowell, and Ryan Blaney hitting the 3-way parlay and the trifecta, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, I would almost say that the gambling gods would have that at probably something like 150 to 1. So if that's what you think, you should go put $1. Just put $1 on the trifecta. Put all 3 of those getting top 5s. It's not going to happen. The probability is super, super high. So pick 1, maybe pick 2 at the most. I would not have any more than 2 drivers that are starting in the top 10. But yes, Joanne's calling her shot tonight. Watch out. She likes Todd Gillen to make the optimal. We're going to get to him. We're getting close. I'll make it quick. Joey Logano, because I don't like Joey Logano. His practice speeds were about average. Starting in 20th, last year he only had 1 top 10 at road courses, 3 top 20s. He has an average finish of 17.6, just like his teammate, Ryan Blaney. Family Man's Joanne. Todd is a great choice, currently projecting under 10%, the kind of play we like around here. Yep, it's a sneaky pick. Let's look at his stats when we can get to him. But Joey Logano, 17.6 average finish. Starting in 20th, we got a little room to run here with Joey. Much as I don't like him, sometimes he's not a bad play. Just saying. Let's say old Joey can get to a 10th. But he gets the 1 token lap led, and he has 3 fast laps, so he still needs to get to probably 50 points. Oops, not 550. He's going to need to finish 8th. Yeah, 8th and have 4 fast laps. Possible. Definitely possible. Even though he doesn't ever have fast laps or average laps led. So that's going to be a tough hill to climb, and he's going to need to finish in the top 10. Maybe a 10% ownership on somebody like a Joey Logano for me. Austin Cindric, starting in 28th, has an average finish of 28.5 at the last 5 road courses, only has 2 top 20s, no top 10s at all. 21.5 average running position. 27 total starts on road courses, does not have a win on a road course, but has 3 top 5s, 9 top 10s out of 27 starts. So about a third of the time he gets to the top 10. Okay. Half the time he's finishing top 20. Don't love it, don't hate it. Practice speeds were not that great. He really fell off at the tail end. Starting in 28th, he's got a lot of room to run, just like our boy Kyle Busch. 28th, if you can get up and finish 14th, You're not going to lead any laps. We'll give you the token 1. We'll give you the token 1 fast lap. 47.3 to finish 14th. He needs to get to probably 48 points at 7,200. Maybe 49 points. He's not quite there. He's going to need to probably get to a top 10. So if you think Austin Cindric can get to a top 10, actually top 11? Yeah, 11th or better. Then you can run him pretty solidly. I'm probably going to be kind of in the bus of about running 10% on Austin Cindric. Probably not much more. Denny Hamlin starting in 19th. He has professed that he sucks at road courses. And yes, he sucks at road courses. The last 5, he's only got 1 top 20. He has an abysmal 22.3 average finish at these road courses with an average running of position of 22.9. Look at his practice speeds. They are at times better than average. And in fact, on the long run, he actually did get better on the long run. He's self-proclaiming he sucks at road courses. I don't know why that didn't transfer over correctly, because that's not correct at all. No, we'll just get rid of that. That's not right. 19th, starting in 19th. What kind of points does... That was from last week. That's why I got rid of it. It was too confusing. Can the guy who sucks at road courses get a top 10? I mean, that's a tough pill to swallow there. And we're talking about getting 49 points. So he's going to need to get at least probably an 8th. Because we'll give him the token 1 lap lead. I don't think he even has that. Yeah, he's going to need to get to 8th place. And I don't think that's going to happen. I'll probably run Denny Hamlin at maybe 5%. Not on complete fade, but pretty close. Ryan Preece, $7,000. Who actually runs better than Denny Hamlin, starting in 29th. A little bit more room to run. Actually has an average finish of 15.8. Better than Austin Cindric, who is starting in 28th. I will probably have some ownership in Ryan Preece at an RFK, really putting some good machines on tracks right now. Practice speeds, I mean, they weren't great, but he's starting 29th. He's starting way towards the back. Right back there with Kyle Busch and Austin Cindric. So, if you're gonna run Austin Cindric or Kyle Busch, I'd probably run our boy Ryan Preece here about the same. Get to a modest 12th place finish. Yeah, with the token 1 lap led, 3 fast laps, get you to 49. 48, 49 points. I really like the Ryan Preece call. I will probably be 15-20% ownership on Ryan Preece. I really like Ryan Preece to make the playoffs also this year. Probably to even win a race. Daniel Suarez, 23rd on the starting grid, $6,900. Has a 16.6 average finish on road courses, 2 top 5s, 4 top 10s. I mean, he's over here with Spire now. Spire actually put some pretty good road course cars out on the track. Probably not as good as Trackhouse, but still pretty good. They've got a ton of money. Starting 23rd, I'll have some ownership with Daniel Suarez. I don't know if I'll be super heavy, probably in that 10 to 15% range. But starting 23rd, you're talking an 11th place finish, probably. 23rd needs to probably get to 11. Nope, it's going to need to finish better than that. Probably it's going to need to be a top 10. He only did that twice last year. That's going to be a little on the tough side. 7th, 9th, 10th. You need to finish 10th or better. Be there. 48 points for 6,900 probably is feasible. All right. Carson Chaos Hocevar, Family Man's favorite driver of the week. He's going to run 100% in all of his lineups. I see it already. Carson Hocevar is going to finish in 23rd. Kidding. $6,700 starting 12th. Carson Hocevar has so far almost the second worst average finish next to Kyle Larson on road courses last year. Only 2 top 20s. 9.2 average finish. I'm sorry, not average finish. 9.2 DraftKings average, 25.2 average finish. This is probably one of his better finishes. He finished 13th. 12 total starts on road courses, only 1 top 5, 1 top 10, 5 top 20s with an average finish of 20th. Starting 12th, I think he has outkicked his coverage, as I like to say. And in fact, I almost know he has, because he is super erratic all over the place. He's trying to find speed, and he's failing at it miserably. He'll get there. The problem is, will the chaos become a hurricane and wipe out a lot of the field by overdriving his car? I mean, I love his unapologetic style of racing and just the way he treats it. And he's actually a really, really talented driver. He's not that good at road courses yet. He's going to get there. We're just not there yet. I don't really have to put this on the calculator. It's not going to be pretty. Because he would have to finish. If he has the 3 and 1, he's going to need to finish top 5. He's done that once out of 12 races, and it happened to be at Watkins Glen 2 years ago when it was just an absolute wreckfest. Bubba Wallace starting in 24th. The guy who self-proclaimed just like Denny Hamlin, he sucks at road courses, but he's getting better at them. I mean, there's a point to be proven there. He has an average finish of 16.2, which is way better than Denny Hamlin. He is getting better at road courses. I just don't know if we're there yet. Tyler Reddick's sitting on the pole, which is his teammate, and the Toyotas sucked at practice. He is about average, slightly better than average. 24th, I think, realistically, we're probably looking at a 16th or 17th place finish, realistically, for Bubba. Oops, I did that wrong. 24th starting spot, finish in 16th. 37.6 points, but I'm not sure he has. We'll give him 1 and 1. 35.7. Really barely even puts him in the top 15 anymore. And that's finishing 16th. And that's being generous. That's where his average finish is. I'm going to probably say I don't know if I'll have much interest in Bubba Wallace. I'll probably run him in, kind of like there I will with AJ. I'll probably run him in like 3 lineups. It'll be in a lineup probably with Tyler Reddick. It'll be one of the lineups. Tyler Reddick wins. Bubba Wallace finished in second, because I do believe in the thing called momentum and that it actually does happen. All right. We are 2 hours already, aren't we? Good gracious. Brad Keselowski, 6,300, starting 28th or 26th. He was not good in practice. And remember, he has a healing broken leg. Joey Hand is standby. Now, with DraftKings, if Brad Keselowski starts the race, runs 1 lap, comes in and parks, and Joey, let's say there's a caution, quick caution, and Joey Hand jumps into the car. Whatever Joey Hand does, Brad Keselowski gets credit for in DraftKings and in NASCAR. So, with that being said, there is a possibility that what they would call a road course ringer jumps into Brad Keselowski's car and goes out and runs. Does that mean he did not have any practice? He has run the next gen car before. I still don't know if I really like it. Starting 26, I'll have 5 to 7% ownership. Just out of sheer possibility there's some attrition and Joey and or Brad end up getting to 12th. And I'm not sure that 26th to 12th really does it. It's close. 26 to 12th gets us. You're not going to lead any laps. You give them the token 1. We'll give them the token 1 fast lap. 45.7. I mean, at 6,300, that gets real close. I mean, we were talking, once you get into this real value range, 45 to 47 points gets you in. So, because of the price tag, I don't necessarily know that I dislike this play. I don't love it because if all of a sudden Joey Hand does jump in this car and it's not worked out quite the way he needs it to, it's going to be a 28th to 30th place finish. Austin Dillon, 6,200. Austin Dillon has a 26.2. One of the worst average finishes over the last 5 races. He's only got one top 20, a 23.9 average running position, starting 33rd. He finished 35th in this race last year. 45 total road course starts. 45. He has 2 top 10s. No top 5s. Not even half the time does he finish in the top 20. So even though starting 33rd looks delicious, it might be a little sour. Did not run a lap better than average. And the average would be 19th place. So nothing better than 19th. So even if you go and finish 20th, does 20 even get you there? No, because you're going to do one fast lap. And that's being generous and nice. 36.7. I mean, it gets him into that 32, 33 range. But his average finish is 26.2. We're saying you got to get 6 spots better than that when your average in practice was that. Ugh. Buyer beware. I'll have some ownership. Don't get me wrong. It's an RCR car. But buyer beware. I literally think the highest finishing RCR car might be Jesse Love tomorrow. Austin Dillon is my driver, but he sucks statistically. I mean, is he your driver because it's RCR and it's the number 3? Because you said that you were a big Earnhardt fan, and I get it if it is. I just have had the hardest time ever being a fan of Austin Dillon. I'm a little bit more of a fan of Ty Dillon, but I really like RCR. I think RCR is one of the best owners out there. But yeah, I don't know. I would, of course, yeah. All right. I mean, I'm a Mark Martin. My old driver was Mark Martin. And you want to talk about guys that had a love-hate relationship with each other. Mark Martin and Dale Earnhardt. Oh, boy. Yeah, I mean, I used to have a license plate when I was, I don't know, 19, 20, 21 years old. I mean, we're talking 30 years ago. That says 1, 2, C, 6, B, T, 3. That was my license plate for 5 to 8 years. Was I want to see 6 beat 3. Yeah. I mean, I really, really liked Dale Earnhardt also. It was more of a love-hate relationship with him. Super respected the man for what he did for the sport. Wish he was still with us. Love listening to Dale Jr.'s podcast. Look forward to it every week. All right, we have made it to Joanne's favorite driver of the week. This is her pick. This is the hot off the press. This is the sneaky, sneaky pick. Practice speeds 5th in single lap, 17th in 5-lap consecutive average. Telling you, this is the non-stop sneaky pick of the week. And if it hits, we're all taking Joanne out to dinner. Practice speeds were better than average to start, not so great on the long run. That's a little disappointing. To be the pick of the week. I do like the pick of the week, though. I actually like Todd Gillen. He has an average finish on road courses of 19.8. Okay, that's better than Austin Dillon. Better than Brad Keselowski. It's better than Carson Hocevar. But it's 19.8. We're starting 17th. All right, we might be getting ourselves ahead here. But Front Row Motorsports has been running better this year. I'll give him that. Finished 10th in this race last year. Okay, well, let's go to what he did last year, 10th place. All right. Because we know his practice speeds didn't look great. So we'll just go with the 10th. And he's starting 17th. Is that going to be enough? Remember, we need to get to probably 46 points for optimal and 32 points for that top 15. And if we're starting in 17th, Can we make Joanne's pick of the week work? Let's say he has 2 fast laps. We'll give him the token lap lead because we're 42.15. We're close here, Joanne. We're close. Think we need Todd to get to 8th place or better. 8th place or better would probably put Todd in the optimal or real close. What do you think? We go a little bit heavier than the field on Todd Gillen. I'm thinking I'm gonna go with Joanne on this one. I think we take some Todd Gillen as a sneaky pick of the week. We got a winner here, folks. The sneaky pick of the week is Todd Gillen, starting in 17th. I like it, Joanne. I like you. Hopefully you come back next week. Especially if this hits. If this hits, heck yeah. You'll be the number 1 fan out there. All right. I do like your pick, though. I was picking on you a little bit. But I do like your pick. It is sneaky. I don't think he's probably going to be well under 10% owned. But I plan on probably having him 15%. Because I like the sneaky pick. That's how we win. Zane Smith, $6,000, starting in 11th. This would be ultra sneaky because for him to get to 46 points and above the 32 points, it's going to be tough. But he's also done a lot better than I thought he would the last couple weeks. So if he can get to 5th, lead a lap, 47.5. So can Zane Smith get to 5th and Todd Gillen get to 8th? I mean, damn, that's possible. Zane Smith, though, probably not as sneaky as the old Todd Gillen pick because Zane Smith has an average finish of, wait for it, folks, 26.4. You guessed it right, 26.4 right there. Ooh, that's bad. I'm not sure we get to 5th. This is not a super speedway. It's not that Zane's going to be bad, but I just don't think it's... I think this is more like a 15th, which that's negative. That's going to be under what we need. I'm probably going to fade off Zane Smith, but I will take his teammate because Joanne told me to, and I like the sneaky pick. Noah Gragson, starting in 35th at $5,900. Noah has an average finish of 24.8. Not going much better as we get further down here. In fact, yeah, everybody from here on down has an average finish of 22nd or worse. Noah Gregson starting in 35th. You have nowhere to go but up at this point. He did have 1 top 10 last year. Look at his practice speeds. Slightly better than average. So he's got some room to run here. Got it. Starting in 35th. I mean, we're talking about getting to, what did I say, 45 points at this point, probably. Starting in 35th, like I said, there's only 2 people starting behind you. And one of them's Cody Ware. And I think the other one is Eric Jones. Eric Jones might beat him. Can you get to 20th? You're not going to lead 10 laps. I'm sure we should give you the token 1 lap. You give everybody the token 1 lap. It's a participation trophy. 17th. 17th place finish for Noah Gregson, starting in 35th. I'll have some ownership in him. I don't think I think he probably ends up with about 8 to 10% ownership. So it's not going to be sneaky if I'm in about the same ballpark. But going 15% on Todd Gillen, that might work. John Hunter Nemechek starting in 31st, $5,800. Like I said, everybody back here has at least 22nd as an average finish. He is starting in 31st. If he can get to 22nd, it's not going to be enough, but we'll just put it on here so that all the fans at home can see. I'm starting to get tired. I'm starting to get wordy. 20th will get you to 37 points. You're not going to lead that many laps. You get the token. You get the token 1. And you get the token 1 fast lap. 34.7. I mean, puts him in the top 15. Doesn't put him in the optimal, though. But starting at 31st, there's only room to go up. Same thing with Eric Jones. Average finish of 23.2. Starting in 36, only had 2 top 20s last year, no top 10s. Practice speeds were about god awful. Starting shotgun on the field pretty much, because your 37th is Cody Ware, and that's it. 10% ownership, probably. Don't love it, don't hate it. I mean, he's got an average finish, like I said, 23.2. I don't have to put it on the calculator. We've done that enough. Jesse Love had a really good race. He's actually really good at roll courses. I still think he could potentially be the highest finishing RCR driver. I know some of the betting sites do have that as an option. I would easily take Jesse Love as the highest RCR finisher for tomorrow. Practice speeds were better than average for most of practice. And for somebody who, I think it's his first road course run in the next gen car. Yeah, I'm pretty much positive of that. And starting in 27th, like I said, I don't think it's going to be great. It could be a 17th place finish. But starting in 27th to 17th, 36 points. I mean, puts him in the top 15. Oh, we forgot to give him the token fast lap and the token lap lead, 36.7. But if he could sneak to a 15th, actually probably 14th, gets him to 42.7. At 5,500, that might, in some instances, that could be close. I don't mind taking some Jesse Love. Because who doesn't love Love? Everybody loves Love. Cole Custer starting in 18th. I hate to tell you, Cole Custer, I think you're starting too far up. I think you outkicked your coverage. 22nd is your average finish. 1 top 10 last year. No top 5s. About average to just a little bit worse than average, and your starting average. I don't have to put on the calculator. I don't think you're going to finish any better than 18th, so I'm not going to worry about that. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. starting in 34th. 24.0 average finish for Ricky Stenhouse Jr. on road courses last year. 2 top 20s, no top 10s. I mean, so if he can go get 19th, can Ricky Stenhouse Jr. get to 19th? I mean, if Carson Hocevar is anywhere close to him, probably not, because they seem to be magnets with each other and end up wrecking each other. And then Ricky's mad for a couple of days. Even though I would not want to fight Ricky, he's one of the bigger dudes in that garage. 44.2 points. Remember, we needed to get to 45 points at 5,300. I mean, can he get a top 20? He had 2 of them last year. 2 of them. I don't mind taking some shots on Ricky Stenhouse Jr. I think Josh Berry did outkick his coverage because he does have an average finish of 23.2. He's starting 22nd. Practice speeds were better than average, worse than average, and I think he finishes 21st, 22nd. And he would have to get a top 10 to be possibly optimal starting in 22nd. Pretty sure that's right. Because it's about 45 points at this point for his price range. 10th with 46.7. Yeah, he would need a top 10 or better. I just don't think Josh Berry's got that in him. Just like I don't think Ty Dillon's got that in him either, because he's got an average finish of 27.0 with only 1 top 20. We already talked about Collick being on the outs with Chevy. They're on kind of an island on their own, and Ty Dillon is not AJ Allmendinger. Even though his practice speeds were about average, he's starting about average. I don't put it on the calculator. Riley Herbst starting 32nd, has an average finish of 25.0 on road courses, 1 top 20. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. starting 34th, and Riley Herbst is starting 32nd. I would take Ricky Stenhouse to get a better finish than Riley Herbst. I just don't see it happening. I'm not going to even go there. I think he's just keeping the seat warm until they finally make a decision and Corey Heim can take over the 35. Then it'll be a good car. I just never liked Riley Herbst either. Not a fan favorite. Cody Ware starting in 37th. I mean, if you think this is just going to be an absolute cluster mess of a race because he has an average finish at 31st, I just don't see it happening. I'm not even going to put on the calculator. It's not worth it. All right, let's talk about who I mean, Shane Van Gisbergen will absolutely be the chalk of the field. I'm probably going to be underweight on Shane. I'm probably going to be 35 to 40%. I expect Shane to probably be 50%, especially after winning a rally part race today. Christopher Bell, 8th. You could take Shane and somebody who's starting in the top 10. That's perfectly fine. I think you could probably take a Christopher Bell and a William Byron or a Busher. You could probably, I mean, if you could actually make that fit into a lineup, you could probably take all 4 of them. Because it still works, and you can still take a Tyler Reddick or a Ryan Blaney or a Briscoe. I'm not sure that the math works because you're talking 30 to 40. Yeah, you couldn't fit all 4 into a lineup together. But you could fit a Ryan Blaney with 3 of them. That definitely would work. Nobody's going to work with Herbst on the track. Nope. I mean, I think Herbst is pretty much done. If Horsevar's not careful, he's going to find himself. I mean, luckily enough, Herbst has a lot more. Hosevar has a lot more talent than Herbst does. Herbst pissed a lot of people off in the Xfinity / O'Reilly series. And the only reason he's got this right is because Munster paid for it. And what Munster sees in him, I don't know. Right now, Munster's not doing great on driver picks. Ty Gibbs, who is a silver spoon, and Riley Herbst, who's kind of a silver spoon, if you happen to know the Herbst family. I don't, but I know they've got money. And I mean, another one was, and I actually liked her. I thought she was good for the sport. She got pretty much run out of Dodge. Was what was her name? Haley. She's a Munster driver. I mean, Munster has usually been pretty good with picking good high profile drivers. But not so much. Not so much. But yeah, any of these 4, I'm probably going to be in the at least 20% range on most of these drivers that are starting up here, but I know that they're going to be chalky. I think the Todd Gillen pick by Joanne is definitely, Haley Deegan. Thank you. I was trying to remember her last name. It's getting late. But Ryan Blaney, I definitely like. Chase Briscoe. Hater says Cindric's supposed to have to be a good road course driver and doesn't seem to finish high. Not sure what to do with him. I'm sure you and Roger Penske are sitting there wondering the same damn thing. Yeah, I mean, the Austin Cindric is actually a really good race car driver, and he just can't seem to get finishes into a race. It's baffling, to be perfectly honest. And I actually don't mind Cindric. I didn't like him when he first started. Like, Blaney's the only really Penske driver I like. Yeah, I think it's a good call with Blaney winning. His practice speeds were phenomenal. He's really good with high tire wear tracks, high horsepower, low grip. All these things play right into Blaney's wheelhouse. So I definitely do not mind the Blaney call out on the win. So I mean, I think you could run an SVG, Ryan Blaney, Todd Gilliland, and then pretty much you could probably run then it's going to be a points game. It's going to be, you're going to need a Brian Priest with a Zilich, and I'm trying to see, maybe a Jesse Love would be. I think Jesse Love could be really sneaky also as a secondary sneaky pick. Noah could be kind of sneaky because everybody's probably like, oh, he sucks. He's not going to do well. Noah's actually a really pretty decent road course racer. He'll finish on the lead lap. He'll get the job done. As long as he doesn't. Sometimes he sticks his nose in the middle of shit that he doesn't need. In the middle of stuff that he doesn't need to. So, guys, I mean, I know I've got Jesse Love on the bottom down here, but I don't mind the Jesse Love call. He's better than Cody Ware. It's the problem is on my the algorithm I've got in the ranking system. because he has no road course experience, and I would have to manually override it. And sometimes I do that, and sometimes I don't. I just left it alone. I ran out of time that, to be perfectly honest. But Cody Ware, nope. Ty Dillon, nope. Zane Smith, nope. Sorry about this. By not a pin. Yeah, I have Austin Dillon got on the outs. I don't mind running a couple of Austin Dillons because, like I said, all he's got to do is get to like 18th, and it probably ends up cashing. I'll move the Todd Gillen bet up, but on my ranking system, it only came in 32nd. So the ranking system doesn't like him, but Joanne likes him, so I like him. Noah, I like. Ricky, Josh, no. Carson, no. Cole Custer, no. Riley Herbst, no. Eric Jones, he's starting so far back, it can't really hurt you to run him a little bit. John Hunter, I don't mind. Denny is probably not. Austin Cindric, maybe, maybe not. Daniel Suarez, maybe not. I don't know if I like the Joey call or not. Kyle Larson, all depends on what Kyle Larson you get tomorrow. Sometimes you just never know. The Brad Keselowski is an interesting play. Connor Zilic is interesting. Has great potential. Just not all experience in this car. Bubba, maybe. Kyle, maybe. Ryan Preece, I do like. So I definitely like the Preece play, the Blaney play, the Todd Gillen play. Do not like the Ty Gibbs. Chase Elliott's, It's Ross Chastain, Ryan Blaney, yeah. Tyler Reddick, okay. Chase Briscoe, So there's my calls. But yeah, I do like the win by Blaney for tomorrow. Either way, I'm getting out of here. We're an hour and a half into this. I appreciate everyone tuning in. Lots of great conversations in the chat. Definitely keep that up week to week. If anybody wants or needs information, make sure you email me at mark@racinginthedraft. I'm hoping within the next 2 to 3 weeks to have my bot working, which then hopefully will help me get my Discord working. And then if things and questions arise either throughout the week or while you're building lineups on Sundays, if you've got questions, wants, thoughts, or concerns, you can hit me up there. Those types of things. We'll build a community over there as well as on here. But Biden says, when picking fantasy drivers, I hear you talking driver stats. Do you look at track stats such as wrecks or track attrition? Yes. Road courses don't typically have. Some have lots of attrition, some don't have as much attrition. Ever since they moved the layout of this track around a little bit, the attrition's been less. That, and after the first year when everybody decided to wreck each other up in turn one at the top of the hill, they've kind of chilled out on this track. There've been attrition, there's been wrecks, but absolutely, Talladega, Daytona, Atlanta, absolutely are attrition style tracks. Number one, because of the way the point system works with Draftkings. Fast laps and laps led are just tough to get. They don't happen. There's not enough of them. Same thing here with road courses. Even though you can get some guys that will have a lot of laps led and a lot of fast laps, which gives them the dominator points. But, so like a track that doesn't have a whole lot of, in recent times, a track that doesn't have a whole lot of attrition, right above me, Martinsville. You would think short track, they're going to beat and bang, they're going to wreck. It used to be, but even back in the day, 25 years ago, they would just pull all the fenders off the damn thing and they would run. They didn't have to do it. So, yeah, Bristol can be a little bit of an attrition track. Dover, you'd be surprised. Dover's, if you wreck at Dover, you're done. They don't wreck as much. And it is a self-cleaning track, which means it's banked so heavily that if you wreck, typically you just slide off the track and you're out of the way. So it's typically only a 1, maybe 2-person wreck, unless it happens right at the very beginning when everybody's stacked up together. I have seen wrecks at Dover that are 4, 5, 6 cars. It's typically 1 to 2 cars though. Talladega, Atlanta, the super speedways, the drafting tracks have much larger wrecks. Other tracks that can be kind of tricky, a gateway, because it's really hard to see down the front stretch. New Hampshire is really tough sometimes for some attrition. But these cars are built so good now that attrition's really tough unless you're at like even Darlington, you don't have that much attrition. Because the cars are just so tough. They can take it. But yeah. Either way, make sure you like and subscribe. We're here every Saturday night at 9 o'clock, other than Martinsville weekends and like Coke 600 weekends and, nights that they run on Saturday. But most of the time, most weekends, we're here at 9 o'clock on Saturdays. I try to keep them at 2 hours. I try to keep them at an hour and a half, but I get going on a roll and I get questions and I want to answer questions. That's what I do this for. And I appreciate you asking questions. I don't mind being on it for 2.5, but I do know sometimes it wears some people out. Joanne, hopefully your guy wins tomorrow, or at least does well enough to finish in the money. Let's go for that. Let's get that sneaky pick done. I appreciate everyone tuning in, and we will see everyone next week. Thank you. Have a good night. Good luck. Bye.
Gentlemen, start your engines. 40 cars coming to life.
He's going to take the field? Yep. Love it. Get a good deep breath. Get ready to roll here. Only about one thing tonight, getting the W's, so got to be around the end to do that. Get ready to roll tonight, boys. Go have some fun. Don't get me any more fired up than I already am. All the way to the checkered. You are fine. Nobody's got to run. Checker time, baby! Really proud of you, man. Drove your butt off tonight. We had the best car here, bud. Yeah, boys. Way to rebound. Great job. Great job, bud. Really good job. Appreciate you hanging in there with us all weekend. What a weekend. Good job.